welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin.
My name is Matt.
I'm Josh.
And we are back with another Wednesday / Thursday episode.
We have Mason and we have Josh with us. I don't think they got to hear that.
They did say their names.
And
you just talked really loud so no one could hear you. It's fine.
I'm Mason.
Anyways,
I'm used to that.
Yeah.
I'm also Josh.
Overshadowing people.
This is one crappy long intro. Okay. All right. Let's get into the news. So there is a decent amount to talk about. There's also a lot of hype coming up here pretty soon because next week, which we will be breaking it down, is D23. That is going to
so
be
much coming out.
Yes, a lot. Like not just for Star Wars, but as Marvel as well.
Well, I don't know about the Marvel side as much because, we had the Comic-Con thing and then they started just absolutely laying down. I don't think it'll. Yeah. I think it'll be primarily focused on the park changes and something to do with Star Wars.
I think they will announce some of the next of Phase 6 that they didn't announce at San Diego Comic-Con. And the reason why I'm thinking they would do that is because of they wanted to save some exclusive stuff for D23 for people there, because there is a Star Wars / Marvel panel, and that makes just the most sense to me.
They combined them. Those are like two separate
entities. So the first part will be Star Wars, and the next part will be Marvel.
On the contrary, I feel like people talk about them together a lot because they're like Disney's two really big franchises right now that are really popular, right? So
yeah, Sony.
Yes, Sony.
I did it.
But and then they're also having a Star Wars and Marvel Games panel, which that will be live. But the panel for Lucasfilm and Marvel will not be live. Is what it sounds like.
I hope they show more about the Wolverine game that's going to be coming out at the Marvel Games.
It's going to be
yeah.
So get it because he's like,
yes,
his endoskeleton is.
Got it.
I think a lot of people want that one that Ubisoft's doing to be.
Welcome back to the Star Wars.
And I legitimately think it will be shown off there. It seems like a possibility.
Yeah, because of that, the open world stuff. They'll probably show the open world stuff for the new Avatar one as well.
I hope if nothing else, we get concept art or some kind of just a scene that's going to be used, landscape portraits and stuff like that would be nice at bare minimum.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful with you as well, as long as we don't get another Eclipse situation where they show a big trailer for a game that's not going to come out for 6 or 8 years.
Or a trailer for a game and the trailer looks amazing and then the game's crap. I think you guys know what game I'm talking about. 2064.
Had nothing.
Battlefield.
Okay.
Anthem.
Well, yeah. And we actually did talk about that. I think one of the last times that I hung out with Matt, because that trailer was amazing. It was phenomenal. It had a great soundtrack. And then you go and, play the game and it's just terrible. It's just terrible. Josh, what do you think of Battlefield 2064? We are talking about, I know, because
which Battlefield are you talking about?
Because they added Kylo Ren. Just kidding. They didn't do that.
No, so
the old one that you could play with ship battles.
No.
The most recent Battlefield that was
2042.
2042.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was like, because there's
2064. I said that, Matt, and you didn't correct me.
My bad.
I was.
So I was like, are you talking? Because there's two ones. There's an older one.
We're doing prime numbers thing.
Ship combat as well as on the ground combat, where the base would be the ship above, like it was in supposed to be in Battlefield 3, where you'd have ground. You could go destroy the ship and then come back down to the ground. It was like that. What I think about 2042?
Yeah,
it's all right. I mean,
well, so the reason why that we brought it up was because of we were talking about how trailers can kind of be misleading, and Matt brought it up how that trailer for 2042 was great. Like, it had a great soundtrack. Kick Start My Heart. I was like, boom, love this. The hype for it is real. You go play the game. To me, it's crap. It's major crap. I do not like that game at all. I can't believe I spent
that you can't show in a trailer that you were expecting or wanting.
I spent $70 on that. I pre-ordered it. I got it.
I know,
it was not good.
What,
and then
what were you wanting from the trailer that you didn't get from the trailer?
So first off, yes, the graphics were not good. And
then you could say,
including on the new
why don't you
console
just play it on a PC?
That doesn't really help, especially
that was not advertised for just PC. It was advertised.
I know, but that's like what you're getting
Minecraft
mad at is.
I'm not mad.
I'm mad.
Pleased with is things that I think are showcased in a trailer, but what's letting you down is like a connection issue or things that you could never produce in a trailer.
No, so in that trailer they were showing a lot of old, they wanted to combine all of the I don't know, we're diving deep into Battlefield. I'll try and tie Star Wars into this somehow. Don't worry. They combined a bunch of these old moments and those old feels from the old games of Battlefield, and they put in that trailer, and it made you feel like it was going to be like that. But then you go and play, and
the specialist system is very annoying, and
So that's what I'm hoping that doesn't happen at D23, where they show a trailer for an amazing game and they're like, but it's not going to come out for another 8 years, like Eclipse or just something like that. It was very
I would say it's more like comparing it to that Marvel game that came out.
Oh yeah, the one that
I would compare it to
hard,
more
the looter shooter.
Yeah, that looter shooter one.
Oh,
I would compare it more like that.
Terrible.
The Avengers game that came out a couple of years back.
Avengers game.
Oh yeah. I still play it. It's a lot better if you play with friends online, and on top of that, the story was good, but I just wish it had more story. That was my only thing with it.
I think generally, like Josh has a point. I think it's the trailer builds a lot of hype, but the trailer will always look better than the game is going to.
Agreed.
And when you watch a trailer, you get a picture of how a game is going to be in your head, and when it doesn't live up to that expectation, then it's always really disappointing. But I don't necessarily think it's the trailer's fault. It's I won't even say that it's necessarily the game's fault for failing to deliver. However, I will say that in Battlefield's case, I've heard nothing but problems about connectivity issues.
Yeah,
and it ruins the entire experience.
Friends. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I've heard generally the game is pretty fun. The destructibility is pretty cool. But again, if you can't connect and actually play the game, then it doesn't really matter.
That's how I felt about Halo when it first came out. I was the servers were causing a whole bunch of issues, but it's still Halo, so obviously I'm gonna like it.
Yeah.
I feel like Star Wars games don't really have enough of a track record to say whether it's gonna flop or not, especially with Disney, because we have we have the EA Star Wars games, Battlefront and Battlefront 2.
EA Sports.
Jedi.
EA Sports is in the game.
And then we've got Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga or whatever.
I mean, that one's kind of a classic, especially among handheld gaming consoles.
Yeah. So it seems like anything that hasn't been produced by EA doesn't have a lot of controversy surrounding it. Jedi Fallen Order, people loved it. Lego Star Wars, people loved it.
Star Wars. Whoa. Yeah.
Say that again. Say that one more time.
Back it on up.
I'm clicking.
Back it on up.
What'd you say? Just repeat what you said.
Jedi Fallen Order people.
No. With EA having.
Yeah, I'm with Josh on that one.
Because I feel like you would say that the first Battlefield,
first Battlefront.
The first Battlefront was great. People loved it. There was some issues, so they're like, we're gonna develop that in 2, and then literally,
it was bad, bro. I
really bad.
Mason, what'd you do? What can of worms did you open?
Dude, it was so. I'm with Josh on this because honestly,
did you ever play that, Mason?
It was bad at launch.
Battlefront 2 when it first came out.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 was horrible.
That's what I just said. I said the games that aren't surrounded in controversy seem to be Jedi Fallen Order and the Skywalker Saga.
Right, but you said that EA was not surrounded in that category.
No, I said that EA was surrounded in it, or at least that's what I meant. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the games that were not produced by EA are not surrounded by controvery.
I was like, boy, I got receipts. We are live right now. Let me just type it all up real quick.
That's what I meant
no, you're
so that's basically the Star Wars track record for video games right now. That's it. And then we're just assuming that Jedi Survivor is going to be really good.
No, I still love Knights of the Old Republic.
Well, so that is the difference.
But that's not part of something that was made when Disney took over.
That is the.
But we're talking about projects that have been taken over since Disney's.
Yeah,
I thought we were encompassing all of Star Wars. I was like, y'all are forgetting a lot of the older stuff. But now I understand because I was like the original Battlefront 2. Don't you dare! Now I understand.
Classic. Call it classic.
Mm-hmm. That no.
So I hopped on a couple days ago and I was playing that Wampa, the Wampa one where I was like. This is what I love.
We were just talking about that on the last episode that Mason did. Yeah, but something that I do want to get into is something that might be talked about at D23 is the actual release date of Bad Batch Season 2 because there's been a lot of confusion.
Have no fear.
Happening lately because of last week they announced their lineup for Disney Plus and they didn't have Bad Batch on there but
for September specifically,
right? But then they added the lineup for Disney Plus in Australia for September and Bad Batch Season 2 is on there. So the real question is, when is Season 2 happening? Is it going to be happening in September or is it going to be pushed back? Now, we already talked about why it was going to get pushed back. And most likely is because they didn't want Star Wars to compete with itself because there's 3 other projects coming out this year. Because Andor, Bad Batch, 2 projects. Andor, Bad Batch, and then Tales of the Jedi.
Which comes out September 12th or 21st? I can't remember.
September 21st is when the Andor series.
I think they're gonna release it in only Australia early because of Omega, and Hunter, because she's got that fun accent.
That's
right. In Australia,
New Zealanders.
That was probably the dumbest thing you've said, Matt. Okay,
I was trying to trigger Josh. He really didn't bite my bait.
No.
Josh,
I just went like this. I was like,
bro, you guys reacted more than him. Jeez. Never mind.
I got my boys to defend me.
I was like, dude, come on.
Should we explain to our listeners what? Never mind. You know what?
No one needs to hear the crappy joke. Anyways,
Australia, New Zealand, aren't they kind of the same? Okay. Our viewership went down 10% this week.
Okay, Matt,
but, you are so. We're back on track to see Season 2 of Bad Batch on September 28th. What?
No. We are not back on track. That was only listed for Australia. We don't know exactly what's going on. Disney hasn't said if it's a glitch or not, but for the lineup for September for the United States, it's not. But for some reason, it's saying it is in Australia. So we don't know if it's a glitch. We'll probably find out at D23. They will probably address it in some way.
Everyone buying a VPN so they can watch Australian Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Just to watch the Bad Batch.
I will. I'll do it.
Okay.
Man, have you seen the trailer for Bad Batch Season 2? I know you have.
I was there.
They look so good. They look so good.
You were there?
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember now. You were saying behind me. Hey.
Boyega. I want to see more. That's the Wookiee Jedi's name, right? Boyega.
Yes.
Wait, who?
He's talking about
Boyega?
the
Wookiee Jedi?
the Wookiee Jedi.
Gunji?
Gunji. That's it. I'm sorry.
Said
I believe there's
Boyega,
another.
which is
I believe
yeah.
there's another
There
one
is a
in the
Wookiee named Boyega,
You are talking about the one from the High Republic, aren't you? Man, this is all over the place.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're talking about. You just mentioned a character from a book.
What do we think is going to happen in season 2? For the love of Bantha,
If Boyega shows up, I'm gonna be real like
coming back
Holy
from the dead.
He's really old.
Okay.
What
do we think is going to happen? Each person gets one. Each person gets one prediction. What do we think is going to happen in season 2 of the Bad Batch? Like for main plot points. Just
what we
have a
want
prediction.
to happen or what we think is going to happen are two different things. But I feel like in season 1, we saw a lot of the whole relationship between Hunter and Omega develop, also among the Bad Batch, between those and them fighting with their conflicts between the relationship that they have with Crosshair and the one that developed after the fall of the Republic. Are we gonna? I think we're gonna see them take on a more of like these liberator mercenary roles that they were kind of beginning to mold themselves into at the beginning or the end of season 1 with the Bad Batch. I think we're going to see more conflict. I mean, we are going to see more conflict between Crosshair and the Bad Batch, and seeing Bad Batch in his crosshairs. But I'm really just excited to see Captain Cody or Commander Cody back on screen. That's cool.
Captain Cody, he got an emotion.
Yeah. Yeah,
he failed to kill Obi-Wan. That's his rank.
He said he killed him, but he didn't.
All right, Josh, how about you?
I think we're gonna get more Snoke stuff. We're this close to figuring out all the I don't know Snoke stuff, but I mean just cloning stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're trying to push the fact that you can clone someone with metachlorian counts, and I think that Omega has some key to that. I'd love to know more. I'm predicting much more into the science of the cloning and what how that affects the future of the Star Wars
replication process. Yes,
I like your shirt, by the way, Josh. Nice shirt.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What the heck, man?
No,
it's
it's funny. It's funny because he's wearing a Lando shirt. It's his favorite version of Lando.
I love Lando.
You gotta stop talking. Okay.
Okay. So for me, all right. So for what Josh said, I think they are going to dive deeper into the cloning process because they need to make the sequels more, which we'll definitely talk about because that is one of our topics today. Because of Rian Johnson and John Boyega have recently talked about the sequels in a couple of interviews they were in, but they need to make the sequels more exciting.
Wait, what? You just jump topics?
And they also need to because the reason why I'm talking about it is because of in Mando, we're definitely getting more stuff pointed towards the sequels. I mean, we've got a character directly from episode 9 that's going to be in season 3 of Mandalorian. And you've also got kind of Babu Frick. And you've just got different elements that will probably point towards the sequels and different shows that are kind of prequels to the sequels. And I'm hoping that Josh is right because I think they need to make it more interesting and they need to fill in some of those gaps. And I think if they, have Palpatine on the side secretly going, 1 second, all questions will have to wait until the end of the class. Class? Yeah. And I think that on the sidelines, I think Palpatine clearly isn't talking to Vader that much about it, but I think he is cloning himself. I think he's coming up with different ways to do it, and then it doesn't happen till later until he gets the asset, until it gets Grogu, where they start to like kind of form Snoke even more. So I think this will be the beginning process if we see Sheev actually go on through and like kind of test those cloning grounds by cloning himself, kind of like he did at Legends.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna try and make a hot take. I honestly think like with the direction of having a Jedi directly associated to the Bad Batch theoretically in this, and who knows, maybe it'll be like a short episode series, like part 1 and part 2 of Gunji. I think we're gonna start seeing them move towards being or helping out resistant cells, and whether they're gonna be bouncing from like, or not resist. I'm sorry, rebellion. Rebel cell, like whether we're going to see them be bouncing from rebel cell to rebel cell, like one moment they're with Saw Gerrera or one moment they're here or there. I think we're going to see a different rebel cell in a different part of the galaxy, where like we have rebels which is focused all about like the stuff going on Lothal, and then we have the original trilogy that focuses on the stuff that's going on like Alderaan and Tatooine. I think we're going to see things in a different part of the universe or a different part of the galaxy. And I'm very curious to see, because I know, Josh, you mentioned before that you feel like things are coming to a headway where there's going to be this like big, massive battle sort of at the end of Mando or somewhere within Mando where we get to see like Thrawn and Ahsoka and Ezra and all that. And that's going to be a big conclusion. And I don't wonder if Bad Batch is also building in that direction by sort of uncovering some allies. I think this has really been about like showing people where all of these rebellion ships came from. Because one of the big questions I think back then was like, oh yeah, it's just a rebel alliance. So where do they get this giant armada, this huge fleet? And I think that this is definitely like moving in that direction towards explaining that.
There's two options for, in my opinion, that we get. It's either we get a story that connects like deeply to all this other Star Wars stuff that's very important and there's very important characters, or we're just having a side story that we get to just be with the characters, grow with the characters, but they're not really involved in a super important way. Yeah. And either or I'm happy with, but I don't know which way they're going to go. Yeah. I don't think there'll ever be a middle ground where they're like, oh yeah, like we see a couple other people. Like, I don't think we're just going to be like, hey, look, these are some people from the Clone Wars that you liked. I think we're going to have some implication towards the future. Like it has to be either great or nothing.
Yeah. There's definitely got to be something big. Like the trailer alone for season 2 was huge. Like they made it a really big deal.
Huge.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. But no, like going back to what Josh was just saying, I mean, like we all know that Star Wars is really good at creating a storyline at the beginning of a book and like the end of it, and then filling in the gaps in between. We saw with the original trilogy being kind of like, ended up being like the original trilogy being like the middle of the story. And then they just fill in all these gaps. So like, obviously they're kind of somewhat limited to what they can do in terms of the story. Like they can't kill off like Captain Rex before you see him in, like the Return of the Jedi. Cause like he's in the Return of the Jedi. You can't like kill Anakin Skywalker in episode 2 because, he's Darth Vader. So like, there's a lot of ways that they're restricted in what they can do. And like what Josh was saying, they're either gonna be not involved in the major plot and overall plot of Star Wars in terms of being a part of the rebellion, or they're gonna be no part of it at all. And they're just gonna go on like more like separate adventures that don't have an overall effect on the end result. The end result being, the rebels win this war. But that being said, we get there's a lot of aspects that we don't see in a war, especially in reality and also as well in film. So when we're talking about this one right here, Star Wars, this war, I think it's just it's weird to think about. There's a lot of things that you don't know, and then they're gonna make it up as they go, and we're kind of being introduced to it, which is how Star Wars works. But I think that I agree with Josh. They're either going to be all the way in or all the way out, and not kind of like they were in season 1, where they were like, we don't want to be involved, but we're kind of being pulled into being involved in this story. Me personally, I think I'm over the whole, side story adventures that Bad Batch has had, because, I mean, they already kind of like copied and pasted when it came to like the whole, a fatherly figure relationship with Omega and Hunter, and the Mandalorian and Grogu, and we definitely don't need to see any more of that. Seeing old characters is always nice. Ones that have been first introduced in Clone Wars, like we're already going to get Gunji, and there's like we're going to be Cody, and then like Harris and Dula is going to be making appearances in like new series coming up too. So like, and so they're doing the same thing with like Tales of the Jedi, where they're taking old characters that we know and love, and they're giving you parts of information that you didn't know about them. Yeah, as a prequel. They're prequeling a prequel that's a prequel to the prequels, and they just keep stacking because they can't go forward because the end result has already been established. The beginning result has already been established, and they only have the part in the middle that you don't know about yet to fill in. So at a certain point, we all, I don't know, I don't know if people can ever get tired of this. The Skywalker saga being like the beginning of episode 1 to episode 9. I don't know if you guys will ever get tired of that, but at a certain point, there's a finite level of content that Star Wars can create within this universe before they have to start thinking outside of it. And they're already doing it with like the novels with the Old Republic and stuff like that, and we all know that. But in terms of Bad Batch, I want to see like them all the way involved, because obviously that's going to be more entertaining and pertaining to the overall plot of the Skywalker saga.
So we all seem to agree that like there's this 50% chance of them either being super involved or it just being like an offside story. Do we want to take bets on what it's going to be? And why?
Well, that's all determining on whether or not we don't know, obviously, if they're considering a season 3 Bad Batch, but if they were to do a season 3 Bad Batch, that would indicate that they are going to be full on involved. If they're like, after season 2 we're done, because I don't even know if we should have done a season 2, because season 2 was just full of nonchalant side gig, like not important stuff to the overall plot of the Skywalker thing. So that would give us an answer, but I think they should be all the way in.
I think that they are going to be involved with the larger rebellion, because they already have ties to the Empire. Like they already have plot ties established within the Empire.
Right, but you also have to remember that these characters, there's a chance that they don't have enough plot armor to where they'll be able to survive that long, because again, we haven't seen them in the movies. We are going to see Hera in them. That was already, kind of that timeline was already established because of the finale of Rebels, of where Rex fought in the Battle of Endor. You know that Sabine stayed on Lothal. You know that Hera has been fighting with a Rebel alliance since after the events of Rebels and all the way through the original trilogy. And then you also know like Zeb and Kallus survived, and Chopper as well. So all those characters are established. Now for the Bad Batch, we don't know. We
like
have
literally
no
every
idea
character
what's
in Bad Batch will die.
Here's the
except
thing,
for Tarkin and Rex.
Yeah,
I think
it could end up being a Rogue One situation. It could definitely.
I think Hunter definitely has some pretty established plot armor. I think once they introduced Omega, and started giving her a storyline and a plot to grow to, once they introduced the kid into it, I think that immediately established that this is going to be a longer term story.
What, you thinking they won't kill a kid in Star Wars? Is that what you're thinking, Mason? Because I'll tell you what, you're wrong. Episode 3, y'all remember it.
That's fair.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
I don't.
Become
I don't know.
Chopped salad.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the same scenario. I just think that Omega has too much of importance around her, and I think Hunter has too much importance right now as a father figure to her. Maybe we see like Echo or Tech or Wrecker
die.
potentially.
I'm not gonna lie. I really don't think that outside of Bad Batch that we would really see them. If we do, it would be maybe like a small cameo, but I don't know because of here's the thing about those characters, right? All these characters are clones, and they all look very similar to each other, right? So I don't know if they would go that route. I really don't know if like they're if that would move all the way to Mando or Ahsoka or something. Like if it did, I would be happy. But to me that just I wouldn't want them to add them in there just to add them in there. Like I would want it to make sense. And right now they're on their journey. Who knows what happens this season? I could definitely see a character dying. I could see them, possibly taking down, them taking down Wrecker. But because of the fact that the Bad Batch wasn't seen in Rebels, that's what kind of dampens my spirits. Because you had Wolf and you had Gregor all right next to each other. Right now, Captain Rex and Gregor both had direct ties to the Bad Batch. So I was like, okay, why aren't they together? After all this time, like it just doesn't add up to me.
Right. Well, I mean, regardless of whether it adds up or not, like obviously there's a timeline of when shows are created, and you can't put these characters who have never been created into a series. Like Bad Batch wasn't even a thought in anyone's head when Rebels was getting produced. As far as
that's actually not true.
We don't have to get into that. It did exist in George Lucas's head alone, but it wasn't a reality.
Nope, that is not. That's also not true.
What's true? What's true?
Okay, so when the Clone Wars got canceled, like a while back when Lucasfilm was doing the deal with Disney, they had a bunch of episodes that were filmed, that were animated, everything, not fully, and then I got canceled. And some of those episodes got released online, and the entire Bad Batch arc that you see in the Clone Wars in season 7 was actually released online. It just wasn't fully animated.
That's totally different. That's totally different.
No, it is not because of those characters were already established. They were already established, and they copied and pasted them.
Deleted scenes in a TV show are also canon in that TV show.
Yes, are you kidding me? Okay,
no,
fine.
They're not.
Okay, answer me this then. In Revenge of the Sith,
there are no Wampas and Hawks.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Revenge of the Sith. Do you not remember that scene where Padme, Bail Organa, including Mom Mothma, we're all talking in a room, right? That wasn't considered canon, whatever, from your point of view.
I know what you're talking about.
Guess what actor they brought from that deleted scene specifically into other shows and movies?
Go ahead.
Here's the thing
about Mothma. She is in Rogue One. She is going to be in Andor, and she also came back and voiced the same character in Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, but her existence was there. Just because they didn't put that specific scene in the film doesn't mean it happened.
I will say this as well with deleted scenes and things like that, like extra content. It's kind of like Cheshire's cat or Schrodinger's cat. Sorry.
Worcestershires.
Where it's like, is it going to get turned into something that's real, or is it not going to get turned into something that's real? And I doubt that. And I doubt that Dave Filoni had concrete plans to make the Bad Batch during the production of Rebels. At that point, he may have not even known if Clone Wars is ever going to be revived. So who's to know? You can't just take these characters off of some whim and just throw them in there if you don't know that they're going to have this sort of pre-established story, because then people are going to be like, oh, who are these guys? And I figure he didn't want to write himself into a corner by taking, just in case.
Because it's not like a situation where George Lucas took every character that existed in Star Wars and made them exist now, and then he's just going to pluck them out and then put them in the timeline. Because if that was the case, then obviously we'd have a lot more characters existing in the original trilogy that existed in Rebels that were
right.
So like Hera Syndulla should have been in the Rebel Alliance in the original trilogy had her character actually existed, you know.
Okay, well, so now you are kind of diving deeper into like the world of Legends because Hera was part of the Rebel Alliance during that
This is
entire
Legends.
time.
Again, not canon.
Right, I
Just
know,
like the
but it is
Legacies are
canon now that she was in the Rebel Alliance during all of the original films. During those points, she was there during Rogue One. You see her ship, you see Chopper, you like see her at the Battle of Scarif. You like know that she was involved in the original trilogy, and there are other comics, other books where she's involved during the original trilogy. So just because that character does not appear in
but
the
I'm
movie
saying
on screen, they are technically.
They're added in later. When
I will say
in 1977 in A New Hope, when A New Hope first came out, that character.
I'm not talking about George
exist in
Lucas.
I'm
We are
not
not talking
saying
about George Lucas. We
No,
are talking about Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni had this opportunity to add all these
Well, I'm
characters
just
in.
using that timeline as an example. So like, if we want to use George or not George, I almost said George Filoni. That would have been weird. If like Dave Filoni he wanted to have Cassian Andor exist as a child during Rebels because he was at that age. He is of that age where he could have shown up in Rebels, but the character did not exist yet in our reality, so it wasn't possible for him. What I'm saying earlier when I was saying about plucking characters out and putting them in the timeline where they persist is all of these things they overlap. They have like where they exist at the same time, but they don't exist yet. And then and this is another thing with like Star Wars. If you can like find like characters in the background, they're like, oh, that species, and I'm going to take that species and I'm going to make it this character and I'll build a character around that background character so they could say that character that they just made just now existed back then, even though back then when they made it, that character had not yet existed. So it becomes canon that they're there, but at the time that it's made versus the time that the first one was made. You know what I'm saying?
And to that argument, I will say that like there are
does that like annoy you or something, or what are you saying? Like
I don't even
really know what's
lost
happening
with this
anymore.
Whole conversation.
As in your punchline is that you don't like that they keep adding characters as if they are very more important to the story because they weren't originally there in the original trilogy.
No,
is that what you're getting at?
Not just no, definitely not. That's definitely not the case. But I'm lost.
I think hold on. Let me clear this up.
Well, clearly,
I think what Matt is saying. I think what Matt is saying is
talk.
sort of on board,
15 minutes
with the track of what I was saying is that like these characters just didn't exist, like period. And like to counter argument like what you said, Colin, and brings discussion to a close. While there
what argument, what discussion? I don't know what's going on.
Well, there are characters from Legends that have been brought in, which is great. I love that they're doing that. There's also a bunch of stuff from Legends that they haven't brought in, and probably.
Oh right, because they're talking about how the Bad Batch couldn't exist in like.
Well, let's not even just about the right moment.
And I gave
talk about the original story for Han Solo's kids, right?
Okay,
that was used.
No, but now I remember the actual like plot of what we were talking about, and it was because of they did have the mindset of bringing the Bad Batch in during Rebels timeline because Bad Batch was made before Star Wars Rebels came out. Dave Filoni had to figure out when to bring those characters in. Matt said that was not true, but in reality, it is true. That is the point I was trying to make. And then Matt went on a 15-minute rant about.
I feel like it was only 9 minutes. But
okay, well,
we can debate this later in person, but
kill him.
I'm gonna need a mediator. Colin's gonna be all salty.
I'm not salty. I was just trying.
I do have a question related to the Bad Batch, though.
Okay.
I do actually have a question related to the Bad Batch, and then we can move on. Do we think they're gonna kill or save Crosshair?
Nah, at this point you can kill him. I'll be okay with it.
Do we think that they're going to make Crosshair realize the mistakes of his actions and like try to bring him back into the family, the Brotherhood?
I don't know.
think
Do you
it's
think
gonna
he
be
was
one of
telling the
those
truth
like
when he
no?
had
It's gonna be like,
sacrifice,
no, I'm like
salvation?
far too gone, bro. I've killed like so many innocent people, bro. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, we love you, bro. And he's like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself for all of you so you can live out your dreams, bro. This is
So he
gonna
can go out on good terms, but still die.
You're a
off.
real one,
Yes.
Omega.
Don't worry, bro. You're totally redeemed, man. Yeah, no problem, bro.
Omega, you saw right through me.
Or do we think that we're just gonna blatantly kill him? Like, is Hunter gonna? Pull
I
up
don't
the strap
think they
and
will
just,
kill
like,
them. I think so.
Rekka's
him on
gonna
the
pull
spot?
like a Darth Maul and throw a piece of
Rekka.
metal at him and split him in half.
Like, and I don't think that they're just gonna like outright kill
Yeah,
Crosshair
double tap,
without a good
though.
reason. But I feel like if they're going to kill him, let's put this under the context that like Crosshair is too far gone for whatever reason, and like they need to put a stop to this guy. Do we think that they have it within them to do that?
I think they will.
I would believe they do, but it's gonna be quite emotional when it happens.
Yes.
I mean, we've already seen them kill like countless clones, and they're like, you know what?
That
At some point,
that
we
honestly
can't avoid this.
that honestly is one of the main themes in Star Wars, and
They've saved a lot of clones though, because they're using stun rounds for most of them. Most of
the
Yeah, like I
the
said,
main theme
when it comes to
in Star Wars, like the main themes are family and redemption, and we see a lot of redemption throughout Star Wars. And
I feel like sacrifice is one of those too. Like we see a lot of sacrifice,
and I don't think like that would really slip. Like it would not slip through the cracks. Like I'm pretty sure at some point someone will either sacrifice themselves in the Bad Batch, and a character will be redeemed, and maybe Crosshair will be redeemed by sacrificing himself and their family because they're brothers. So all three in one. Wow, cool. Anyways,
I think Tech's gonna die.
Okay.
I think there's
little bit of
I
an
think there's a
out there vibe.
possibility that they may save Crosshair.
Like
I
they
think there's a
save
possibility.
Crosshair, but then one of the other group dies off. Like
Maybe,
there's always a cost.
Or maybe they just pull like a 180 and they just save him, and there's just like no, like
Nah,
there's
I'm
just
like a
no, like the
270
buildup
kinda
is not there. They just
I'm a
flat tire the fan base.
I'm a 580. I'm gonna do a 580.
Okay. Do we think that there will be another trailer coming out? Is what our Liam said. I think there will be a D23, and then they'll drop the actual release date and let everyone know because everyone's confused.
I feel like you think at D23 they're gonna drop all of the. Wait, no. When is
Stuff.
Disney Plus Day?
On
September 8th.
On September 8th, which is the day right before it starts.
So I think it would be then.
Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna drop like a teaser, like so they're gonna show the trailer and then add like a couple pieces of extra footage that we haven't seen yet.
I
Maybe.
miss like I mean
think it's more
like
feasible, Matt.
I missed
Thank you, Mason.
Yeah.
I miss it when they had the investors meeting a couple of years back in 2020, because that was awesome. We were all sitting at home, and then we just got every single new project coming out. Some of those projects they announced are definitely not happening anymore. But I'm thinking that they'll probably bring some of those back for D23, and they'll talk about it more, because there's the show Droids, like the droid story, which sounds like it would be like a live action with R2 and C-3PO just traveling across the galaxy, which that would be really, really cool to see.
That'd be
Anthony
nuts.
Daniels.
Yeah.
That'd be
You think
nuts.
Anthony's gonna do that? Because he's
Yes.
on that whole vibe.
Yes.
Of, no one's doing it but me. So like,
Well,
he's
I
definitely
mean,
gonna, like,
well, not because of that. It's because of
well, he's just done.
that-
He's the only person to live action to ever do him. So I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, are you gonna keep that streak going, man?
he'll like probably
Should've
keep
asked
doing it until the day he dies, just like Peter Mayhew did, because he kept being Chewie until he physically couldn't do it anymore. But yeah, so I think there will be a lot of announcements at D23 that we don't know, and then there will probably be footage that they showed at Celebration that will finally make public, like the trailer for season 3 of Mando, because that is a huge IP for them. Everybody loves the Mandalorian, and that's a huge thing. I think they will definitely talk about it, and potentially they might show the same teaser for Ahsoka, or they might show more, because when we saw the teaser at Celebration, it was at that point they only filmed 3 weeks of it, so there wasn't that much to show. But now they have filmed a bunch of it. It would make sense for them too. Yeah,
I concur.
Okay. Yeah. So D23 is next week. Don't worry, we'll be bringing down all the news and everything as it comes out. Let's dive into the other news, which is Rian Johnson and John Boyega talking about their experience with Star Wars. But Rian Johnson and John Boyega have very different inputs. And I know we've been talking about John Boyega a lot recently because he's been doing a lot of interviews for his new movie coming out. And
they just ask him, like, how much do you hate Star Wars? I don't hate Star Wars. I hate Disney. Over and over and over and over again.
Right. And oh man, no. Let me see if I can pull it up here. So the
Rian Johnson article?
No,
this is the one where he's been asked, like, what do you feel like your impact on Star Wars was, and he's like, well, I think that that my film was, it didn't have good reception at the time, but now I feel like I've done a lot more for this series than I thought I could have done.
Yeah, which we actually
like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah.
you're not even as good as I thought you were, and basically, he's basically saying he did better for the franchise than originally perceived.
Yeah,
I will say yes to that.
He's been addressing a lot of the racist stuff too that's been happening because of for him he was comparing his experience with the actress Moses Ingram and how he thought that they really weren't dealing with it the same way that they dealt with him when he was getting all the racist comments and everything. And I
with Moses.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the whole thing is stupid. I think Star Wars fans can be great, but they can also, just not. Like, I can't believe that all that was a thing, and it's still happening. And I think it's the stupidest thing in the world.
I really don't like. First of all, Jim Jimone calling me out here for picking my nose. First of all, I'm over my beard. Boo on you. Go on, shoot. Get out of here. You leave me in my ADHD face picking alone.
Like,
you know what?
He called him out on his full name too. Like, Mason Conrad is picking his nose. Poor manners.
Poor manners.
Like,
how uncouth, Jim. How uncouth. How uncouth.
Yeah.
I guess Mason's just not used to the whole live streaming yet. We're mostly a podcast.
I had to get a snack. I was hungry.
We're not used to the visuals.
We did talk about this last week. We did talk about this last week, and we also did talk about this on Sunday as well. But yeah, no, it's a great time, but it's also a bad time for Star Wars fans. Jim says Colin Weaver is
what?
Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm all right, Jim. Are you the person? No, Jim. Are you the person that wrote the review?
Okay, we're not going to talk about Jim anymore.
No, I'm curious.
No, this is not something we need to talk about. What's Rian Johnson talking about Star Wars?
Man. This is all over the place.
Yeah, this is not what I want to do. Do you guys think Rian Johnson would come back after The Last Jedi? How do you think the audience would perceive his return to the Star Wars screen? And what projects do you think he would bring to the table?
So he actually has confirmed that his trilogy is happening. He was just in an interview and it is happening.
I mean,
he doesn't know
him
when.
saying it,
Yeah. He does not know when his trilogy is happening.
2032.
At some point during his life, he'll make it. He just keeps saying he's busy, and that's exactly what.
Okay, Taika Waititi.
Yes, and I'm just like, okay, again, Star Wars should not be something that is on the back shelf because you got other projects. If like Star Wars is something that should be like a main thing to work on. And the fact that these big directors keep saying, "Oh, I'll get to it when I get to it," is just like, dude, you've been advertising for a long time that you were going to work on this stuff, and then it's just like,
this is not the type of fan group to build up and then let down with a project of that size and magnitude. It's dangerous almost, not like to you personally, but like to the fan base. I mean, maybe to you, I don't know. We got some pretty crazy people out there. Racist Star Wars fans. It's a whole crazy situation, Hi, Josh. I don't know.
I can't say as to what I think, like whether I think Rian Johnson will come back or what he would work on, but I will say that like as poorly as 8 was received, I would love to have Rian Johnson back. Just because the director didn't do great on a movie doesn't mean he couldn't do great on his own solo film or his own series that he works on.
Solo film.
I think they gave him a lot of freedom, and that kind of freedom didn't go in the way that they had wanted because it's Disney that owns them and they have to do what the public wants, whether it's good or bad for the series.
I think
marketing. Like, so
guys, can we stop doing this? Just stop. Just stop. Let's be adults, if you will. Is that how you pronounce that? I don't know. Adults.
I think.
Wait, that sounds really close.
He definitely had, in my opinion, the most un-Star Warsy Star Wars, in my opinion, but I think that's a good thing. However, it was amazing to see someone rage so hard. He's the tipping point from when everyone like they were like, hey, here's a Star Wars film, make it what you want. Okay, cool. Disney had a whiff of that. The fans didn't like it, and then they're like, never again. We're not gonna let people do their own kind of spin again. And then that's what you saw. Everything from after that movie, people were like, oh, it drops off like Star Wars Project, gets picked up on Star Wars Project, all this kind of stuff. And it's always for creative differences. Because from there on, from that movie, it is Disney's word and like 2 other people's word. Like Kathleen's like, this is how it goes. This is it. We're not doing that again. So that's why I'll always appreciate that movie more than like the other 2, because it did something so different that it changed Disney's industry when it comes to Star Wars.
I mean, it is kind of like a learning curve, learning how to take over such an icon like Star Wars. But I mean, with the whole situation, and like you said, with creative differences from like going from like Rian Johnson's idea of Star Wars and then straight into JJ's and the next film, it's almost like childish to the point where like you sacrifice the plot and the overall success of the trilogy just to undo, rewrite, and just erase in some ways how the previous director or creative team decided to create the film prior to you without properly representing the characters and the plot. Like I said,
well, and I think something similar can be said
right?
to Rian Johnson looking at the script and immediately throwing it out and saying, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do my own thing, which is fine. I think the biggest issue is that you do something that you don't do in a trilogy, and that's change directors. Why would you do that?
Because
why would you do that? Like, I get that The Force Awakens wasn't received well, and that's fine. I get that.
I mean, that happened later on. That
like the initial
because when the movie came out, Mason, that movie was very well received. But then a couple of years later, people watching back, they're like, "Oh man, I don't like this movie because
it never led anywhere."
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't like
right.
because
well,
of The
thing is
Last
that
Jedi.
People didn't like it. No, people didn't like it. I heard a lot of complaints when it came out because it was literally just A New Hope reskinned. And that's why
that was its biggest criticism, but I wouldn't say that it's the
crap about that when I first saw it too.
It's
and I was
definitely
like,
its
oh wow,
biggest
another
criticism.
Death Star. Okay, cool.
It's its biggest criticism, but I don't think it's a criticism that people were up in arms about. They were kind of like, yeah, I guess it's just the same film again, but it's good to have that kind of film back again. So I don't think anyone
they wanted to like pay homage to the old, make it seem kind of familiar to their audience, but they hit it a little too hard on the head, the nail. You know what I'm saying? And like I am guilty of being that type of person when it first came out, that I complained about how similar it was to that. And then I kind of did the opposite of what Colin just said. I did not like it very much at first. I mean, I loved it overall, but like there was the couple really big things about it, like you said. And then I grew to love it more as time went on. So I just really think that, and like you said, and it's kind of like difference between a film and TV series. Like The Mandalorian had how many different directors in the first season? That's entirely different because it's a television series. Right. And they're all kind of creatively collaborating and working with each other. And
so yes, and yes, but on top of that as well, with that, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau made the actual blueprint for the show. Like they helped guide them through the way, and then they have the different directors that were like directing the different episodes, right? Kind of put their own kind of plots into it, but Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni has always kept reminding them, this is the main plot, this is the destination, this is where we're trying to go. Just follow it.
Kathleen Kennedy is kind of supposed to be like the Dave Filoni of the sequel trilogy, and
of the movies,
yeah, and she was supposed to like keep it within the parameters that she had obviously had in her head at one point, and she blamed like the fact that because there were multiple different directors with multiple different creative perspectives on the film, that is the reason that caused it to crumble like Last Jedi did. And she's like, we're not doing that again. We're not allowing creative freedom. And I was like, it's not the creative freedom that's the problem. It's you not giving the directors creative barriers. Because when you just let like an artist just do whatever he wants, it may look crappy and abstract. But if you I want a tree, do that tree however you want it, but I need a tree. That's different. You know what I mean? That's pretty broad, that analogy, but I feel like it worked. I stand by my tree. So, anybody got a comment for my tree? No? Okay. No comment for my tree. Should we move on to the next thing?
Yeah.
Anything else to say about Rian Johnson?
And people know how I feel about The Last Jedi. I don't hate it. I think that it could have been done better, and there are elements that I do enjoy of it. But I think if Rian Johnson did his own trilogy, and it didn't have anything to do with any of the main characters, I think it would do well. I think it would do very, very well because he is such a great director and he is such a great creator. I just don't think characters that have been established is his forte. I think if he does something completely different with Star Wars that has nothing to do with any of the main plot or any of the main characters, I think it will do well.
Like a Rogue One type film that's like Star Wars, but like his own thing. Yeah. Okay. I guess the next thing we have to talk about is our boy Damon Lindelof.
Yeah.
Lindelof. Yeah, that guy. Lindelof. If you don't know who David Lindelof is, he was a producer and writer on the hit TV show Lost on ABC, Prometheus, and more recently he was on like Watchmen. He was a producer on that. I think that came out like a couple years ago now.
So
it feels like not
I'm
that long ago.
Uncultured and don't watch movies.
Okay, well,
so
Lost
I can presume that this director specializes in things like thriller.
He's a producer writer. He might have directed some small stuff, but he's mostly known for being a producer.
Okay, but he specializes in producing, writing things that are like thrillers, because I know Lost was sort of like a big mystery, and
yes,
it has some thrill to it. I know Prometheus was sort of like a thriller slash horror movie.
It's like thriller, action, and he likes sci-fi stuff. So like this is right up his alley, Star Wars. It's like basically like he's like reached the peak of his career by being involved in Star Wars now. But let's just talk about what
it is he might be working on, because I think it would be really cool to see a thriller done in Star Wars about General Grievous.
Well, I mean, the headline of the article that I'm referencing on and this is Star Wars News Network. The headline says Damon Lindelof regularly spotted on Disney lot reignites speculation about reported Star Wars project.
Right.
And
that would be cool.
So basically, they're just seeing his presence in a place where Star Wars is potentially being either worked on or produced. Whether or not he's actually involved is a question. What that project is still
it's
a
just
question.
Speculation.
It's like literally when they were first filming like pictures of Kenobi, or when they were first filming the TV series Kenobi, and they're like, oh, who are the actors that are on set? I wonder which characters they might be playing. It's kind of like that. It's really all up in the air whether or not he's even involved, or if he's just like kind of like being like an advisor on something, or if he is actually involved in the project on a specific, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of speculation in terms of this article. It is just worth noting just because of his history and the previous project that he's been a part of. So, I mean, and he's already on a couple of different projects. I guess if he is a part of a project, he will definitely be in presence, or he will have a presence at the D23. So if he's involved, he'll be there. If he's involved in any kind of project, he'll be there. So I guess we'll get an answer in the next week or two. As to whether or not he is involved and what he's involved with, because I know he's really close friends with Taika Waititi, and if he is involved in something, it may be something involving him, which means that we might be actually seeing Taika taking a more direct approach to whatever Star Wars project that he said.
Project, so I guess that
if he shows up,
I just looked here.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically.
Well, Taika a while back mentioned that he was having like trouble coming up with, or was still in the process of writing his project.
Well, he was really distracted with What We Do in the Shadows, and then the fourth Thor installment in the Marvel universe. So like he was like, oh, my plate's full, I don't have time, like Colin said earlier. But
do we think that he brought in potentially Damon Lindelof?
Yes, just because they have worked together before. So
Lindelof.
If he is involved, it is more than likely because of either Taika like just introduced him to somebody in the Star Wars universe, or he's directly working with Taika on a project.
Who knows?
Like I said, I don't know.
Hopefully, hopefully we find out in a week or so over at D23.
Basically,
yeah.
I really would like to see.
And if you haven't seen Lost, Mason, dude,
you honestly would like Lost, man. Hang on.
He likes answers.
Yeah.
You'll get answers in like 7 seasons. Takes a long time to get to it, and even at the end, you're kind of like left with like a little bit of an open book question.
That's fair. I mean, no, that's all right. Like, I'm okay with open endings, but
there are a couple open endings. But
man, I really want to see, even if it's a short film, I really want to see a thriller about General Grievous like hunting Jedi. I think that would be really cool,
dude. I've been saying that for years, years.
Episode.
Yes,
ever
since the Clone Wars, when like we kind of got a little bit of his backstory and how he was a thing, and I was like, dude, I don't care if it's a video game, a movie, a short series, I don't care what, but they need to do something about it.
I really want to see General Grievous not be a coward.
How the hell
is what I want to see?
Topic? That's what I want to know.
Because like,
we got an brain.
And mostly everything that we see, it's just it popped in because.
He said that it was most for a thriller, and then he was thinking about what thriller would be good in Star Wars, and then he was like, General Grievous would be a good thriller. I've thought of that before. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for catching us up, Josh.
No problem, dog. I got you.
Yeah. there is something that has been happening a lot lately with the new shows is that they are getting darker and grittier. I definitely noticed that in the Bad Batch, but if you saw Rogue One in IMAX this past weekend, they did show a clip from the show Andor, and there's a line in there where one of the characters like is like having a serious conversation and like swears, and then this like big violent like action scene where people are getting smashed like happens, and you're just like, what is going on? So
he says the B word, but
yeah,
without the female dog.
yeah. So it is definitely getting more darker. It's getting more serious. Which I love that they are bringing that to Star Wars, and this is a dark time. During the early stages of the Galactic Empire, it is a dark time. So I am very curious on how they will carry that like going forward, because season 1 and season 2 will end up falling into the events of Rogue One. Like the very last episode will fall into the events of Rogue One, which is super, super exciting. And and that I'm very excited for, and I'm very excited to see what future that this kind of theme is gonna carry on. But let's get into the last topic, which this is something that we did talk about last week. Mason and I did.
We have 2 more topics technically, but
whatever. Oh, okay, fine.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm really glad you guys heard that. It really threw me off.
What was that?
Thunder.
Oh, I thought it was a velociraptor.
Yeah.
I'm kind not a velociraptor. Okay.
Oh my gosh, bro. Whew. But yeah, so there was an idea that Mason and I came up with that involved something very similar to a character. Yeah, so we're doing character of the week, and the character this week you guys voted for was Embo from the Clone Wars, and Matt's got some fun facts about Embo here. It was between Max Rebo and Embo, and you guys chose Embo. I'm really glad, because I could definitely bore you guys for another hour with Max Rebo stuff, but
yeah, thank you for everyone who voted. You really helped us out. So for those of you who don't know who Embo is, he is a bounty hunter that was first introduced to us in the Clone Wars. He was first seen in the first season of the Clone Wars.
Do you have a photo?
Do I have a photo? I don't.
I will.
Go, Colin, go. He's hacking.
Yeah. Go.
Enhance.
Embo, he is his species is called a Kaizo. They usually range from about 5 to 6 feet, and he uses a breathing apparatus because he can't breathe in normal atmospheric conditions. His weapon of choice is a bowcaster, and he uses a large rimmed circular hat, very similar to that of another bounty hunter named Cad Bane. He uses his hat for a lot more practical purposes, whether it be for a shield or a cool little saucer to go down a snowy slope. He is very agile on his feet. He also is very advanced in pyrotechnics. Embo worked with Suji's crew, and he was seen on an episode protecting a group of Felucian farmers from an Anaka gang. He was very prominently seen in that. He is often seen fighting alongside Boss, C-21 High Singer. He also has worked with Asajj Ventress, and he has been personally hired by Count Dooku in the past to do things such as assassinate senators, saving people such as Zero the Hutt from their occupation inside of Republic prisons on Coruscant and stuff like that. He hasn't been seen outside of obviously outside of Clone Wars, because that's where he exists. There isn't much to know of as to what happened to him outside of the Clone Wars, other than what legends and comics might suggest. Whether or not we would potentially, maybe it's possible that we could see him in Bad Batch. Anything's possible really when it comes to that.
I would love to see Embo again. He's one of my favorite bounty hunters.
He's pretty crazy. I love him.
I think he's just unique. And I really am happy that they gave another character in Star Wars besides Chewbacca a bowcaster.
I agree.
I think that's so cool. I want to see more. I want to see more bowcasters. And secondly, I like how he has the whole Captain America vibe going on with his hat. How he kind of uses a shield, sled.
I would love to see him in a game. I would love that.
That would be so cool.
Of just blasting people, and then all of a sudden, he runs out of ammo for some reason. He tosses his gun. And he just throws his hat, and he's just beating the crap out of people, and then the hat comes back to him and puts it on. We've seen him use it as a sled in the later seasons too. So there's a lot he does with it, and I think the character is kind of underrated, and I would love to see him in live action. I would love to see him.
Agree. Underrated character.
Yeah,
I agree.
He's been mentioned in Legends as being a part of the Battle of Jakku. He was actually pardoned by the New Republic, and then he served.
Legends.
Wait.
This isn't canon technically. So these are all related to comic books. But
you said Jakku, which it's in that future where they never make something not canon or Legends.
Jakku never existed in Legends. That planet was
I'm not
created.
saying I know it's a real planet. The scenario in which he does these things only exists in comics. So if you take comics as canon, then yeah,
the comics are canon. All of the comics.
I'm just saying
what I'm
saying, I guess, is really that he's not seen in film outside of Clone Wars.
Okay. There you go. Okay,
I guess
I was confused. I was like, those are definitely
the comics are canon.
Yeah, I was like,
well, if you want to talk about canon and characters that we know, he actually became a loyalty officer to none other than Chancellor Mon Mothma, which we just mentioned earlier in the podcast.
What? Really?
Yep. Following the Battle of Jakku, he was pardoned by the New Republic with the help of Sinjir Roth Velvis. You guys know who that is?
No.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sinjir Loth Belvis. He was an ex-officer of the Galactic Empire, until the Battle of Endor, and then after the destruction of the second Death Star, he abandoned his post and he fled the Empire, and he became an Imperial records analyst for the rebellion, and he was also part of the Resistance. So he has ties with the Empire as being a deserter, and then joined the rebellion and the Resistance after the Battle of Endor. So him and Embo are friends because Embo has been contracted by the Empire before, so they had met while he was still part of the Empire. Then he became a part of the rebellion, and then he used his relationship with Sinjir to get pardoned by the New Republic, and then he became a former Imperial loyalty officer and became an advisor for Chancellor Mon Mothma following the Battle of Jakku.
That's really cool. Huh.
Yeah,
good.
He actually became a part of the New Republic. Yeah,
I'm very glad that he has some form of resolution to his like story.
He's very
known
old
as
then.
being,
Jeez.
yeah. He's kind of done with his whole bounty hunter days at that point. But he is known as being a very honorable like bounty hunter. Like he's not like like
everything that
doesn't do it just for money. He has morals.
Everything he's done within the series, as far as I know, has been very like white hat. Like he's been like one of the good guy bounty hunters that doesn't like go after innocent people or take jobs that would like hurt or affect other people. He's kind of like a vigilante.
Yeah. And I mean, he only uses a bowcaster and his hat, which he also uses a defensive and an offensive weapon. He can be seen with an ammunition bandolier slung over his shoulders sometimes, and he doesn't always have it. And then he has like some the remnants that he wears is very similar to that of and it has accents and replications of that of old Japanese warriors. So you get, like he has like these very loose set pants, and then he's got this this decorative belt, which is has these symbols on it, which are I couldn't translate when I was doing research on him, but they are the dialect of his homeworld, which is what is his homeworld? That's a good question.
You are doing a great job, Matt.
Fatrong. That's it. Fatrong. Which is a planet that I'm not familiar with.
Do we know anything about that?
About Fatrong? I don't even know if I'm saying it right. That's first of all. It is a terrestrial planet located in the galaxy's outer rim territories. It is covered in oceans and divided by two thin mountainous continents, and it was home to the Kaizo species, which evolved from several adaptations to the world's heavy gravity. That being one of the reasons why he has to wear that thing on his face, because his lung capacity and his ability to breathe is based on a planet that has a much heavier set gravity. Kind of like us trying to go to Jupiter and breathe out there. It just wouldn't work out very well for us.
I did not know that there was so much lore written behind this character.
Dude, there is a lot.
This is
like
nuts.
I think I covered like maybe like 1/5 of what I could probably do a whole podcast just about this guy. It's pretty intense.
That's cool. I'm gonna do some more research. I like that.
Yeah. Fatrong was loosely governed around the Confederation outside of the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars. They didn't really have much involvement in any sort of government entity due to the fact they were almost an entirely water world planet, with the exception of the two continents that it kind of like formed almost like a halo around the planet. So that was where his species, he was not a water species by any means. But yeah, that's
Cool.
Kind of like a basic outlook on it. If you guys want me to do an entire podcast on Embo, I would be happy to do it. You can leave your concerns or comments and down below or what?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get our audiences to be,
That is true.
Yeah,
I want more comments.
Yeah. Which we're getting a lot of that today, but I won't get into that. But
I wouldn't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Me and Josh don't know what you're talking about, but whatever. You guys have anything else?
Yeah. So that was kind of like our first time of doing that. We will be doing that definitely more. If you guys have an idea of what character you want us to talk about, or if you want to do a voting thing and like let us know who you want us to talk about for the character of the week, let us know.
You can vote on our Instagram stories, but if you have to go follow us on Instagram to do that at Star Wars Stuff Podcast.
There you go. Or if
I'd
you would
say
like
Audible,
more,
but yeah, we're not doing that.
if you like more content on that, we also got our Patreon where
Let's
there's
go.
There's a lot of content on there. I actually recently just went to Galaxy's Edge, walked around with the wife, and we did
That's
some
great.
bounty
Congratulations.
hunting.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and that is actually a lot of fun. We talk about how you guys can do it.
I haven't done it.
What, gone to Galaxy's Edge?
Bounty hunt. I still haven't done it since it's been open.
Oh, it's fun.
Do you have
literally the one
Magic
time
Band
that I
Plus?
went? Yeah, the one time that I went, the server was down. The one time that I went, the bounty board was down. Yeah,
It's
like wow,
amazing
cool.
what you
Thanks.
guys do, bro.
Mason?
Great,
Nice.
dude. I
I'd
have
say
the
that
worst
is
luck.
a rare occasion, things not working at Disney. But you guys know better than I do about how that's not true.
Okay, so
Fired.
yeah, so So with that being said, please go follow us on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast, on Twitter at Stuff Pod, TikTok, search for Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Please give us an email at starwarsstuff@gmail.com. And not even going to pull up the Audible thing. And please go and give us a review on Apple Podcasts. We're also on YouTube. And then we have our own website, stuffpodcastnetwork.com. We're on Twitch as well. We're gaming on there. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We would not be here if it wasn't for you guys. We love you all. May the Force be with you.
Always.
Hi, I'm Mason.
Hello.